Number 1. Ladders 1926.1053. 1926.1053 General. The following requirements apply to all ladders as indicated, including job-made ladders. 1926.1053A. Ladder rungs, cleats, and steps shall be parallel, level, and uniformly spaced when the ladder is in position for use. 1926.1053A. The minimum clear distance between the sides of the individual rung/step ladders and minimum clear distance between the side rails of other fixed ladders shall be 16 inches, 41 centimeters. Number 2. Eye and face protection 1926.102. 1926.102. The employer shall ensure that each affected employee uses appropriate eye or face protection when exposed to eye or face hazards from flying particles, molten metal, liquid chemicals, acids or caustic liquids, chemical gases or vapors, or potentially injurious light radiation. 1926.102A. Eye and face PPE shall be distinctly marked to facilitate identification of the manufacturer. 1926.102A5. They shall be reasonably comfortable when worn under the designated conditions. Number 3. Occupational Safety and Health Standards 1910.1200. 1910.1200A. The purpose of this section is to ensure that hazards of all chemicals produced or imported are classified, and that information concerning the classified hazards is transmitted to employers and employees. The requirements of this section are intended to be consistent with the provisions of the United Nations Globally Harmonized System of Classification and Labeling of Chemicals (GHS), primarily Revision 7. The transmittal of information is to be accomplished by means of comprehensive hazard communication programs, which are to include container labeling and other forms of warning, safety data sheets, and employee training. 1910.1200B. Employers shall ensure that labels on incoming containers of hazardous chemicals are not removed or defaced. 1910.1200B. Employers shall maintain any safety data sheets that are received with incoming shipments of hazardous chemicals and ensure that they are readily accessible during each work shift to employee when they are in the work areas. Number 4. Safety and Health Regulations for Construction 1926.503. 1926.503A. The employer shall provide a training program for each employee who might be exposed to fall hazards. The program shall enable each employee to recognize the hazards of falling and shall train each employee in the procedures to be followed in order to minimize these hazards. 1926.503C. Retraining when the employer has reason to believe that any affected employee who has already been trained does not have understanding and skill required by paragraph A of this section. The employer shall retrain each such employee. 1926.503B. The latest training certification shall be maintained. Number 5. Occupational Safety and Health Standards 1910.134. 1910.134A1. In the control of those occupational diseases caused by breathing air contaminated with harmful dust, fogs, fumes, mists, gases, smokes, sprays, or vapors, the primary objective shall be to prevent atmospheric contamination. This shall be accomplished as far as feasible by accepted engineering control measures. For example, enclosure or confinement of the operation, general and local ventilation, and substitution of less toxic materials. When effective engineering controls are not feasible or while they are being instituted, appropriate respirators shall be used pursuant to this section. 1910.134A2. A respirator shall be provided to each employee when such equipment is necessary to protect the health of such employee. The employer shall provide the respirators which are applicable and suitable for the purpose intended. The employer shall be responsible for the establishment and maintenance of a respiratory protection program, which shall include the requirements outlined in paragraph C of this section. The program shall cover each employee required by this section to use a respirator. 1910.134C. Respiratory Protection Program. This paragraph requires the employer to develop and implement a written respiratory protection program with required work site specific procedures and elements for required respirator use. The program must be administered by a suitably trained program administrator. In addition, certain program elements may be required for voluntary use to prevent potential hazards associated with the use of the respirator. The Small Entity Compliance Guide contains criteria for the selection of a program administrator and a sample program that meets the requirements of this paragraph. Copies of the Small Entity Compliance Guide will be available on or about April 8, 1998, from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration's Office of Publications.